Welcome to the Wild Enthusiasm for Living podcast. I am your host, Dr. Melissa Mann. Join me for conversations about possibilities and tools for having more joy, more play, and way more of you. What would it be like to wake up every day with a wild enthusiasm for living? Hello and welcome to the Wild Enthusiasm for Living podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Melissa Mann, and I am here today with my amazing friend, Amy Shine, who is an embodiment facilitator. And I'm so grateful to have you here, Amy. How are you?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Amazing. So I thought we would talk today a little bit about what you do as an embodiment facilitator. And I just did a small workshop that you did that was with Emily Russell for a few hours. And it was so amazing for me to have the embodied movement piece of it that you provided. And there was so many different parts to it that I enjoyed. There was, a dance part and also just like a presence of being with your body in a different way. So I wonder if you can, like, if somebody hears embodiment facilitator or embodied movement, can you just tell people a little bit, like, what is that?
Yeah, sure. Well, I guess, if we look at movement in the world, like a lot of us know movement from our traditional forms of exercise. We got yoga, Pilates, um, you know, spinning, uh, circuits, and all the different types of workouts. And even if you look at traditional dance, you got ballet, salsa, bachata, like all these different types of dance and movement, and the different ways of moving your body. The thing about all of those and what they all share in common is that they all follow a structure. So even if you go to yoga, even though yoga is very much still a practice where you're invited to really drop into your body and get out of that mind state, you're still being directed through a structure. Like, put your right foot here, put your left foot here, like raise your hands towards the sky. And that all is wonderful. I love yoga. I practice yoga myself. I do weight training, circuit training. I do it all. I love all types of movement. But um, embodied movement and the dance that we did on the online retreat, that is a different type of movement in that there isn't instructions. There isn't, well, there may be some cues. There isn't a very structured direction of what way you're going to move. And then what that invites you to is actually to get out of your mind, but also then really feel into your body and then follow the sensations of what your body is asking for. And so it's a somatic practice. Soma means in the body. But if you're taking a class and you're listening to the teacher say, put your right foot here, put your left foot here, you can still listen to your body within that, but you're not going to be able to really, really let go and let go of control in a way that you can when that structure isn't there. So I would consider embodied movement. Now, I think it's more like ecstatic dance, chakra dance, 5 rhythms, journey dance, all these kind of practices where you're really going on a journey, and the journey is out of your head into your body, and it isn't from control and structure. It's really from like, how does this feel? And different, you might have embodiment practices, but it's not listening to a teacher tell you every single move.
That's amazing. That's such a beautiful description. And I think that, at least for, I don't know, in my world, people like being told what to do a lot of the time, and they don't often know what to do when they're not told what to do. So is that something you've experienced where people are like, wait, you're not going to tell me what to do? How do you?
Yeah.
And I think that we're like really taught to not let go of control, that would be this like scary bad thing. So I wonder if you can talk a little bit about like the value of of letting go of control and actually allowing your body to lead you.
Yeah, I mean, you're so right in that we've been brainwashed and entrained um in a very, very slow way over time to um to be told what to do. And it's like that, like, it begins when you're a child. Like if you look at a 2-year-old or 3-year-old, they're very free in their bodies, like I try to teach dance to 3-year-olds, and it's like it's really hard. Like you can't teach them dance. You just have them twirl around and like jump around and stuff. Like they don't 3-year-olds do not follow structure. Like they do not follow, choreography. I can't even, how do you say that word?
Choreography.
Choreographers. Okay, that's how autistic I am.
Hear you.
Or, like I just, yeah, there's words I don't get, and I was like that with movement. Funny enough, I found it very hard to follow synchronized movements, like, and to like rehearse these like steps. And it was really, I thought there was something wrong with me because I loved to dance and I loved movement. But anytime I went and took like a dance class, like salsa or, hip hop or R&B, whatever it was, I could never follow the moves that the teacher was teaching. I could never get the routine. So I always felt really wrong. And I think that, it is a muscle memory thing, it's a brain thing, but like over time we entrain ourselves through school and through the world to, that we don't know what to do if there isn't a structure there. And then our ego doesn't like that, right? Because your ego loves control. Your ego loves that, you know what you're doing and you're following the moves and you're following what this person is telling you, and you're doing it right, or you're trying to get it right. And when that's not there, the ego doesn't know what to do. So the mind is like, what's going on? Like so the mind resists this. So I would say that your mind and your ego resists the letting go of control, but your body and your soul, like your spirit, your being, loves when you let go of control. Your body loves when you let go of control. It's orgasmic. You come alive. Like the control, if you look at it, control is such a contraction, you actually have to contract your body. So in the movement, when you are invited to drop out of your head and into your body and let go of some of that structure, some of that control, it's liberating, it's freeing, you become alive in your body. And that's where I see like, I always use yoga as a comparison, because even though yoga is incredibly healing, there's massive benefits to it. It's a great practice to help you get to a place of meditation and stillness in your mind. I never really had like a massive sense of aliveness from taking a yoga class, whereas the movement, like the ecstatic dance, and I would say like facilitated movement where there's someone guiding me. So while there's not someone telling me, put your right foot here and put your left foot there, there is a guide and there is someone who's holding space and who's maybe providing direction, but the direction is more, it's more like your choice, and it's just more cues rather than a real structure. And that combined with breath and then even sound, it brings you so alive in your body. It allows this, like, it's like this, pulse becomes alive and this vibration. And I just haven't gotten that feeling from traditional movement.
Yeah. Well, it's so cool just because I've done a little bit here and there, mostly with you. And now it's funny, where I live in the suburbs of Chicago, it's about an hour to drive to anywhere doing this, but I'm so on board. I have things scheduled, but I'm so excited about it because I have long been a controlled person, and it was so fun for me to let go of that. And there's always this piece, I think, even like you think about a dance class or even some yoga classes. I don't love the ones that do this, where the room is full of mirrors and you feel like you're always looking at, how do I look? How do I appear to other people? How do I look even for myself? Like, do I look right? And there was something different in the movement too about letting go of all of that and being like, you know what, everybody else is doing it too. And if I look weird or odd, or who cares? But there's such a like you were saying, of like letting go of that ego of needing to show up a certain way, or get it right. Where like if there was no getting it right, then you actually get to just be. So it's such a different way of being with your body, but being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to also say, for anyone who's listening, like, um, if anyone has been to an ecstatic dance class or an ecstatic event, that's not, like, how do I say it? Like, it depends on kind of what events you've gone to. I've known people who've gone there and it's basically just a DJ playing music and people just dancing. And that's fine. That's great. It's great that that is out there in the world. But if you're someone who have never done this type of movement or dance, that probably isn't the best place to start. That's why it's always great to have a facilitator who facilitates and takes you on a journey and can guide you with the breath and with some embodied movement practices, and maybe some sound, if there's sound involved or not. It doesn't have to be, but that can really, because what I did with you all online, Melissa, was like, I gave you an embodiment practice, like a movement that you could start making, like say the circle. We started moving our bodies, like drawing circles with our shoulders and moving it down through our stomachs and into our hips. And then it was like, okay, now we play music and now let's embody it. And you all did, right? But like you said, it wasn't like you weren't looking in a mirror trying to figure out if you were doing the circle right. And you weren't looking at other people, because it wasn't, there's no specific way to do this. It's just like, feel it, draw it with your body, get the feeling of it through your body, and now move it. And a lot of the time you can even close your eyes, and it's beautiful when you close your eyes, because when you close your eyes you can feel like, ooh, I'm tight there. Ooh, you can start to feel like, and you can really like get into those parts of your body and bring awareness to those parts of your body, and start to feel, okay, what's there, what's asking to move. And then through the breath and through the movement, you start to create this space. You start to breathe in to the places in your body that might be tight or heavy or constricted, and the movement then and the breath starts to release that. So you may start off feeling like, oh God, I don't want to do this, or oh my God, what are we doing? But once you get into it, you start going, wow. Like, I had a girl in my class, and when we started to do it, she's like, and she's in her 40s, like she's not, she's young. And she was like, oh my God, Amy, like, and she's had 2 kids, she goes, I can't remember the last time I felt my hips in that way. Because we do a lot of, especially with women, we do a lot of sacral movement. Again, we're getting into like the hips and we're spiraling. So we're using ancient practices, actually. Like this is ancient wisdom, and it's very connected with the earth and our tribal ancestors. And we're using these practices to really connect with our bodies in a different way to like maybe you would have done in traditional movement classes. But really, like you said, everyone else is doing it at the same time. So it isn't about, ooh, like looking at the other person, because what you start to see is everybody moves differently. Yeah. And our bodies are not the same shapes and aren't made to make the same, like our bodies are not made to look the same and move in the same way. And I think the most beautiful part then is like, by the time we get to the tribal movement, which is like, that is really just like releasing, letting go, like really letting go of control and letting your body just shake and move and be free. That is one of the most liberating parts of the dance I see for people, and for myself included, who have a lot of control in their life. And I think we all function from control. We live in a very controlling world. And if you're someone whose work is very much, help, say you're a therapist, you help a lot of people with, talking to them. We live in a world where we're talking all the time. We're listening, we're communicating, and a lot of it's through our heads. So this movement where you get to like not think at all and totally let go and shake every part of your body and forget what it looks like. And it's not pretty and it's not supposed to be pretty. And like release like all that tension in your body. It is so liberating.
Yeah. It's so fun watching how much you light up when you talk about it because there's an energy to it. It is so freeing and liberating and something that I think people don't choose often or don't even know is available.
Yeah.
And I love what you're inviting people to with this. I'm curious for you, like as long as I've known you, you've done some version of this. So I think it's probably changed over time. And but I'm curious, like, what drew you into the embodied movement and dance world in the first place?
Well, I actually I had a breakdown like when I was 21, a mental like kind of breakdown, and then at that time, before that, like I used, I'd spent a couple of summers in Ibiza, dancing, going to clubs. So I knew that dance was very therapeutic, and then like I tried to do some structured dance, like salsa and stuff, and my mind wasn't able for it at the time. Like my mind was not able to follow that structure at the time. I've since been able to do salsa and bachata and all that, and that's a whole other different type of movement. We can talk about what that creates too. That's a different universe you're dealing with.
Okay, cool.
But the what I needed at that time was really something that got me out of my head and got me into my body and allowed me to feel like free in my body without anything outside of me, right? So I started to like just play music at home with my AirPods on and like headphones. We had no AirPods back then, and just dance. And so I started to realize like, wow, like when I'm stuck in my mind or I have heavy emotions. At that time I was very depressed. I was going through a really dark, heavy time. The music and the movement would shift me. It would shift me out of that. And it would almost like take me on a journey. And then I had a friend, was telling a friend about this, and he said, oh, there's this thing called five rhythms. You should look it up. And so I did. And I went to a class. It was a class in the city where I'm from, Cork, in Ireland. And it was like basically a community hall with this lady playing music and facilitating. And it was a bunch of people all dancing like I do at home. And I was like, oh my God, this is weird. Like all these people do what I do. But she, the teacher who was doing it, like she had like, there was actually a map to it. So I started to realize, oh, there's a map to what we're doing. There's like the warm up part where you feel like, oh, you feel all heavy and like, I don't want to do this. And then you start to like flow and you start to open up. And then you go into like the kind of more staccato, like the power, the tribal dance. And then you lift into your heart and you go more into trance state. And then you go from there into more lyrical and flowing. And then from there into like more meditation and stillness. And at that time, I was desperately trying to meditate and I could not because my mind was so racing all the time. So this was the first time where I was able to actually get to some sort of stillness. So I realized, wow, the power of movement, like that the movement brought me to the meditation or to the stillness. And the biggest aha for me in that movement was realizing I could access this ecstasy, this bliss, and this joy within my body through the movement without having a drink or a drug or something outside of me. That was the biggest aha. That was like, oh my God, like that changed my life. And
Wow.
so it was from there on in that once I realized I could access, because if you look at why we take drugs or why we drink or why we do anything, outside of us, it's usually because we do want to, we want to have joy. We want to feel happy. We want to release whatever that's going on inside of us. And when I realized I could access that through the movement, through the dance, that changed everything for me.
Wow. That's
And
such a beautiful story. Go ahead.
yeah, and then it's that part too. And then the second part to that is you realize that you can actually heal yourself. You wake
Yeah.
up the wisdom within your own body, and so it's so empowering. And it's interesting. Like our tribal ancestors knew this. Like they danced with the art. Like and even if you look at out in Africa, the way the tribal dancers dance, they are in oneness with the art, and they're receiving guidance, they're receiving downloads from spirit, they're connected to the art, they're receiving healing from the art, they're healing with the art through the movement. Like there's so much power to this type of movement, and it's ancient. It, our ancestors, our great ancestors did this, so we lost touch with it through the modern day world, but it's there for us and it's free.
I love that. Yeah, wow. What a cool just acknowledgement. That's something that, I've been looking at a lot lately of sort of the substance culture and, all the like what creates that. And there is something to that of like people are just always are seeking joy, but they just don't know how to find it. And I love that this is something that that you found that you're sharing with the world of, you can have that joy and that freedom and that space in your head without putting something external in your body, but in like actually being in your body, which nobody is. Everybody's in their head and everybody's,
Yeah.
trying to, hold 100 things in their mind all the time. And, that movement drops people out of their mind and actually lets people be present in their body, which people don't do, that presence of letting go, so I love what you said about that, and that connection with the earth and the healing and like how healing dance has actually been for you. And I imagine many of your clients that take classes with you and things like that, I'm sure you've seen, lots of I don't know, miraculous sort of things.
Yeah, a lot of people, like, yeah, it's just there's so much power to this movement. And then what happens is sometimes when things are easy and they're inside of us, like we can access them ourselves, we tend to dismiss them because our brain loves complicated procedures. Like our brain loves to problem solve. So like we love having like, like, oh my God, I have this deep rooted issue and like it goes back 10 generations and here are all the things I have to do to heal it, versus I could like step into a space and move my body for an hour and let go of control and heal myself. Like it's like, because it's like the movement is powerful but yet simple, same as the breath is powerful yet so simple and so accessible that we tend to dismiss it. I can even dismiss it sometimes even though I know the power of it. And it's interesting. So we're always kind of looking for like the next newest thing, that's going to heal us, or like, and really, I have found the most profound healing comes when I'm connected with the art. And this type of movement really brings me back to the art. And when I can go directly to source, to spirit, connect with the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, directly, and the movement allowed that for me and for others. And what I see a lot of people, especially women, men too, men do this type of movement as well, is have a release during the movement, like release emotions, release, um and they can't get over it. They're like, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah, but like it's all the stuff we have like that we're holding on to, the pent up stuff. And when you get to just like release it, right, like release the energy, it's so powerful.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And I imagine that does happen quite a bit. People start to get into their body and it's all this, everything that they've been holding on to or keeping stuck that, um,
Yeah.
that now kind of has space where people emote or, and I'm sure people get teary or even like have, I remember you doing something also with voice, right? Like where you
Hmm.
express just even sighs or like just a release through your voice, and I imagine that's all connected too.
Yeah, like I learned to add the sound to the movement later on when I moved to Florida. So the first practice that I played with was five rhythms, and that introduced me to like the map that you can bring people through. And then I love everything connected to nature, so I started to work more with the art elements. And like, so that's why it's beautiful. It's like your body is connected to the art and you can like move through the movement, connecting with the different elements of the art that all connect to your body. Like, like your root, your base is the element of earth. Your hips, your sacral is water, your solar plexus, your stomach is fire, your heart can be fire, and then air, and then your throat can be air, and then third eye, crown, space, like ether, like connecting with oneness, the universe. And I even called, my group the Dance to Oneness, because that was another thing. It was like, wow, what I started to notice, like, you'll come in and at the beginning, you're very much like in your head and like, like everything at the beginning. I don't want to do this, blah, 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 resistant. And then you start to move through that energy and release the heaviness and the pain in your body. And then you start to access like this flow. And then when you start to get into the heart, then you might look around the room and be like, oh, wow, I love all these people. Because we're like, wow, like, because the beautiful thing for me was, if I'm talking to someone, there can be lots of separation between me and that person, or me and a group of people through talking. But I've always felt this connection with people through movement, because we're not in the movement. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're male, female, like age wise, like all those kind of like prejudice just slip away. And like, there's no talk. So we're just moving. So it's like this, like, wow, where like your bodies are connected, your movement, like there's this language that is like nonverbal going on. And I started to realize through the movement, like there is no judgment, like those walls, those separations just disappear. And now it's like we're connected, and now not only are we connected, we're all connected. And like there's been moments in the movement where when we're starting to get into the heart and into that ecstatic bliss, and everyone, you look around the room and there's just this sense of oneness and connection through everyone, through the group, and then through the universe. And that's where I realized movement transcends all separations, wars, racism, judgments, because there's no words. It's just movement, and there is no judgment in the movement. So that's where I realized, wow, this is really powerful. I think I totally went off in a tangent away from your original question.
I don't even remember what my question was. It's such a beautiful, just listening to you talk about this, I'm like, that is so much, that connection with the earth, to each other, to oneness, like that's the target, And so, I mean, I think it makes sense to me why you were drawn to it. And even as you were talking about it, I was like, I want more of this in my life.
Yeah.
It's such a, like, I don't even have the words. It's so inspiring. And it's something that I think people crave dynamically, is to connect, but they don't know how to connect,
Yeah.
I remember, my husband used to smoke, and I never was a smoker, but I remember always being like, oh, I was like, wish I smoked, because, everybody would go outside of the bar, when we were in our 20s, and everybody would like all have a cigarette. Now everybody's friends. And I was like, but that sucks. Like, why is that the only way that people can connect, is through something like that? And I love this, just because I don't know why that's what that reminded me of, but it's like where people like are wanting that connection, they seek that, but they don't know how to find it. And you're right, words are where we create judgments from, where we get in the way, where we start to have all of our preconceived ideas about what people are. And then you get into this movement, and there is that innate connection that already exists if we got out of all the judgment that we live with. So
I love that you gave that example. That's actually a great example. I totally identify with that as well. I think we all do in certain ways, like in different ways we can see that happening, right? A group of people connect through this thing, and then you're like, well, I want to be part of that because I want that connection. So the one thing us as humans all crave is connection. And that's why, like, you might find it, and then we're seeking it, and sometimes seeking it in the wrong places, and maybe finding things that are very unhealthy and destructive for us, but we're getting connection, so we keep wanting to do it. And it is like, when I talk about it, it's like, I know what's possible with it, and then I also get like, people don't, if they've never experienced it, they don't even know it's possible, and then they have all their resistance, right? Their points of views and the control around it. But it is one of my targets. Like when people tell me like, oh, I can't dance, or I don't know how to dance, or I'm a really bad dancer, I'm like, you need to come to one of my movement classes. Because when I see people who are like, I can't dance, I don't know how to dance, I'm a really bad dancer, I have no rhythm, then I'm like, they're the people I love to see open up and move their bodies, because this type of movement isn't about, that's all judgment, right? That's all like the judgment of what a dancer is, versus like the freedom of just getting out of your head and moving your body, even if it's just like shaking everything out for like a few minutes.
Yeah. Wow. That's so cool. And I love that those people are finding you, and little by little, because that is what's going to create, um, that difference. And so even people
Yeah.
listening who've never done this before, I want to do more of it just talking to you. So I hope that people, also can find that. Right.
When I saw you, when we did the online retreat and we were doing tribal dance, and like we had our cameras on, and I could see like you were really letting go in the tribal dance, like, that like that lights me up, because I know that freedom, like I know what it's like, like to be, you there's a lot of pressure in our world, and we're busy, and we have all these things going on, and kids and husbands and jobs and money, all the stuff. But to be able to like just, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, to just shake out your body, release that, like really surrender into the movement, let the music, the beat of the drums, the rhythms move through your body, and like really release that, all that pent up stuff that we store, in our bodies. It's incredible, it's so powerful, like it lights me up, because that's when that's where I'm like, it's so simple but yet so powerful. And but you could be like hours doing other stuff and not have the same release that you could have in 10 minutes
Yeah.
through one practice.
Absolutely. It's so it kind of covers all the things, right? Because our
Yeah.
bodies love to move. So I mean, there's um, I, I hate to say like the exercise component, but there it's like this movement, and your bodies love to move, and then to have all the emotional release and all of the um just like it sort of connects the earth, connects the spirit, like it has this connection to sort of everything. I can see
Yeah.
why you were drawn to it, because there's
Yeah.
so much in this one practice that actually uh kind of like, I don't know, hits all the things you might be looking for
Yeah.
in something, asking for something different with your body and in your connection to the earth and your connection even like to you as a being. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. Amy, we're probably about at time here. Is there like, how can people find you? How can people, I know you do online classes and you do some in-person things, I think in Ireland also. Is how can people find you?
Yeah. So I have a website, so it's www.amy.shine.net. You can also find me on Facebook or Instagram, Amy Shine. And yeah, so I am doing a chakra movement series at the moment. And then I think come July, I'm gonna have some new offers, online movement classes starting. I'll have like a 5 day, maybe like a body reset movement series in July. And then in August, I'm going to start maybe a new movement membership, kind of inspired by doing more of these and feeling like, all right, I just want something ongoing where people can join in. And I'll have like a pop up classes, kind of monthly pop up classes. If you just want to sign up for one class and check it out, they'll be starting like once a month in July as well. So yeah, check it out. And you can also just send me a message. And I do local classes here in Cork, and I do some in Florida when I'm there as well. So just reach out to me. And then if you are like looking for something in your area and you're not sure, just reach out to me too, and I can point you in the right direction.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Yeah.
being here and for sharing all of this. It's so like exciting and inspiring.
Thank you for asking me. You
Absolutely.
got me inspired. I'm like,
Well,
okay, I
yay.
need to do more.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And thank you all for listening. And I'm sure we'll see you sometime in the world soon. Bye bye.